The first time Jess saw the cat, it was raining. She had come home late from a double shift, keys in one hand, takeout bag in the other, umbrella somewhere she couldn't remember, and she was standing at her front door in the dark trying to find the right key when she noticed something sitting on the top step. Small, dark, completely still. A pair of amber eyes catching the light from the street. She said later that the cat looked at her the way a landlord looks at a tenant who was 2 weeks late on rent. Expectant, slightly impatient, not unkind but clear about the terms. Jess opened the door. The cat walked in. That was all. Jess was 29 years old and had lived alone for 3 years in a ground floor flat on a quiet street in a city she had moved to for work. She had not planned to get a cat. She had not planned for anything that was currently happening in her life, if she was honest, but the cat situation was particularly unplanned because the cat walked in of its own volition on a Tuesday night in November and showed no intention of leaving. She put out a bowl of water. The cat drank from it, then inspected the living room with the thoroughness of someone who had seen a lot of living rooms and was reserving judgment on this one. She checked for a collar, there wasn't one. She checked for a chip the next morning at the vet, there wasn't one of those either. The vet guessed 2 years old, maybe a little more. Female, healthy, brown, genuinely fully brown, which the vet mentioned twice because it was unusual. Most cats described as brown were actually black in certain lights. This one was brown in all lights, a deep, warm chocolate that looked almost impossible. Nobody came looking for her. Jess posted in 3 neighborhood groups and put up notices on 2 streets. She waited 2 weeks, nothing. She named her Maple. The naming, Jess decided later, was the moment she stopped pretending this was temporary. The first month was an education. Maple had opinions, not occasional opinions, not mild preferences, but fully developed, consistently expressed, non-negotiable positions on almost every aspect of daily life. She had opinions about where Jess sat on the couch, about what time dinner should happen, about whether the bathroom door should be open or closed during a shower. Her position on the bathroom door was open, and she enforced this by sitting outside it and inserting one paw repeatedly into the gap until the matter was resolved. She had a particular relationship with Jess's hands. If Jess was holding something, a phone, a book, a cup of tea, Maple would walk over, assess the situation, and then place herself in a position that made continuing to hold the thing inconvenient, not aggressively, just structurally. She would arrange herself so that the most comfortable option was to put the object down and use both hands for something else, something like petting a cat. Jess's friends found this funny. Jess found it quietly, completely wonderful. What surprised her most, though, wasn't the attitude. It was the other thing, the thing that came later, after the inspection period had ended and Maple had apparently decided that Jess met whatever criteria she had been applying. It was the way Maple noticed. Stories like this one are exactly why we built this channel. If you feel it, hit subscribe. You belong here. There was a Monday in February, 4 months after the rainy Tuesday, when Jess got a piece of news that she hadn't been expecting and that sat in her chest like something heavy for the rest of the day. She didn't cry about it. She wasn't ready to cry about it. She came home, made tea she didn't drink, sat on the couch, and stared at nothing for a long time. Maple jumped up beside her, not onto her, beside her, which was unusual. She sat with her shoulder pressed against Jess's thigh, facing the same direction, and she stayed there for 2 hours without moving, not demanding anything, not performing comfort, just present, just warm, just there. Jess thought, I didn't know I needed that. She thought, how did she know? Maple's mornings had their own logic. Every day at 6:08 a.m., before the alarm, reliably, without variation, she would walk from wherever she had been sleeping, step onto Jess's chest, and sit there, not lying down, sitting, upright, looking at Jess's face from a distance of approximately 4 inches, with an expression that communicated clearly and without apology that the day was starting now whether Jess was ready or not. Jess started setting her alarm for 6:15 so she could have 7 minutes to lie still with a cat on her chest before the world required anything of her. She didn't tell anyone this. It felt like the kind of thing that was true and important and didn't need an audience. Maple had claimed 3 territories in the flat: the windowsill above the radiator, which she occupied every afternoon between 2 and 4 o'clock with the contentment of someone on a very good holiday; the left armrest of the couch, from which she supervised the television with the focused, critical attention of someone who had watched a lot of television and found most of it wanting; and Jess's lap, which she treated not as a privilege, but as an entitlement, available to her at any time on her terms for as long as she deemed appropriate. She had also, without announcement, taken custody of one of Jess's cardigans, a gray one that had been left on the armchair. Maple slept on it every night, kneading it slowly before she settled, and Jess had learned not to move it. She had bought herself another gray cardigan. She didn't mention this to anyone either. 6 months after the rainy Tuesday, Jess's sister came to visit. She had heard about Maple but hadn't met her. She arrived skeptical in the way people are skeptical about cats when they have mostly known dogs, expecting indifference, anticipating the famous aloofness, prepared to find the cat vaguely disappointing. Maple spent the first hour of the visit in her window. Then she climbed down, walked to the armchair where Jess's sister was sitting, and stepped onto her lap. Her sister looked at Jess. Jess looked back. Later, her sister said, "I get it now." That was all. Just, "I get it now." Today, Maple has been with Jess for 14 months. She has not changed fundamentally. She is still opinionated, still structural about the hand situation, still absolutely clear about the terms of the arrangement. But there is something underneath all of that, something that has been there since the very first night, that Jess has come to think of as the whole point. Maple walked in out of the rain. She inspected everything. She decided to stay. And in 14 months, she has not once let Jess sit in a room and feel alone in it. Some animals don't need training or coaxing or convincing. They just need a door that opens at the right moment. And if you are standing at your front door one night in the rain and something is sitting on your step, looking at you like it has been waiting, open the door. Just open it. You might not know yet what you needed, but she probably does. Did this cat choose her, or did she choose the cat? Tell me in the comments.